And I love this topic. I saw an article last week that I loved. I'm pretty sure I posted it in the leader group me, and it was called "Your meanest friend is actually the friend that cares the most." And there was a quote in that I thought was awesome. And the quote was, "When you want to help people, you tell them the truth, and when you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear." And for a long time, I've actually said in my training, one of the things that you can expect from me is honest and open, accountability. And really, I don't think that your best friend in life is the person that you have the most fun with, or says all the things that make you feel the best. I think that your best friend in life is the person that helps you become the best version of yourself. And in a video that Trent sent out over the summer, he used the example of someone having spinach in their teeth, right? And he says that a nice person might not say anything to that person because obviously, like, it's not necessarily an uncomfortable situation, but it's not necessarily a comfortable situation to stop the conversation and say, "Hey, you have spinach in your teeth," but the reality is the kind person would do that because people would want to know if there's something that they don't know is going on, or that they can fix, that they can improve. And I was actually talking about, we have a CSP or someone who's going to be a CSP in my office. His name's Zach Becker, and we were talking the other day about my first summer as a manager. And my first summer as a manager, I remember like wanting to be everyone's friend. And I've always been a more blunt and direct person, but I think for the large part of that summer, I think I was afraid to lose people. And I didn't have as tough a conversation as I could have with a lot of people. So I remember at one point in the summer, we only launched, I think, like 57 reps that summer. And by one point in the summer, we were having like 40 something people team meetings. We had like 40 or so people at our team meetings because we retained a lot of people, but they weren't getting that much out of the opportunity and they weren't getting the results that they deserved. And I got to the end of that summer and I looked back, and one of the things that I wanted to do that next summer was continue to have that fun dynamic. But I also wanted to mix in tougher coaching and hold people more accountable. And at the end of my second summer, I did a survey for everyone on the team. And one of the questions that I asked was, what was your favorite part of the summer? And pretty much every person said the SC2 push. And obviously, they didn't say SC2 conference. They said that the SC2 push. And obviously, that was the part of the summer that I was tougher on people than any other part of the summer. And really what I learned a few things. I learned that people thrive when they have accountability. People need accountability to be happy, because if you have no accountability or structure in your life, regardless of how self-accountable you can be, you're just not happy. The second thing is people need to, or at least want to be pushed, at least to some extent. And people build stronger relationships with those that are helping them grow and are providing them value. So as a manager, in my opinion, we're measured by the value that we offer to those that we work with. So the results of the reps in my office on my team is something that is very personal to me. And there are a lot of times that when someone is not seeing the success that they deserve or that I feel like they could, I feel like at times I definitely take that personally, and there are times where I feel like I'm failing that person. So I'm going to give you a couple big tips, and then I'm going to give you some other quicker ones. The big ones, obviously, everyone has different mentalities, and different things come naturally to different people. But the two biggest pieces of advice that it took a little bit of time for me to fully grasp are, one is that setting expectations is extremely important. Now I'll explain that in a second, but also one of the other things that is the most important is being consistent with your communication and your actions and all of that stuff. So in terms of expectations, for example, for when I definitely think I have room to improve at this. But when I first, started promoting assistant managers, I didn't do a good job explaining to them what I expected from them. And there were a lot of times where I feel like either they got frustrated with me or I got frustrated with them because I felt like they weren't providing what I expected, but I didn't do a very good job at setting the expectation off the bat. So I would say if people don't know what you expect from them, it's unfair to be upset with them if they don't meet the standards that you feel like they should. Or if you don't know what others expect from you, it's almost impossible for you to support them in the way that they deserve or feel like you should. So one of the things that I think is extremely important is setting expectations with your relationships with other people of just knowing what they want from you and what obviously, and you telling them what you want from them. Because there's certain times I think that we have expectations that are unfair. And if we just had a conversation with someone, they would be able to tell us, no, I don't think that is like the right fit for me. The second thing is being consistent. So you can't pick and choose when you want to hold people accountable, right? Like you can't just say, okay, well, I don't feel like having a tough conversation right now, so I'm going to let it slide and then have a tough conversation with someone at a later date. Because what happens is you come off as mean and attacking sometimes, and your words don't carry as much weight when you are inconsistent about it. So you need to be forthright with the value that you offer and be consistent in a timely manner. So you need to handle things when they need to be handled, the moment that they need to be handled. It can't be a day later or a month later or a week later, because if you hold things in and bring them up at a later date, what happens is so it can easily hurt your relationship subconsciously. Obviously, you could resent that person. It makes the person feel like the behavior isn't a big deal or that it's acceptable. And sometimes what happens is you allow them to create habits that can hurt them in the long run, that are negative habits. And when you bring it up randomly after the fact, a lot of the times that person feels attacked and it's unexpected. So it needs to be the moment that it happens. So some other tips that I have, the first one I think is a really powerful one. So this is something that I forget where I learned or read this, but the moment that you're afraid to be honest with someone because you fear that you could lose that person is the moment that you've lost that person. It could be in a friendship, a relationship. It could be a rep on your team. If you're afraid that if you're walking on eggshells because you don't want to lose somebody, the reality is you've already lost that person. The second thing is, and I think this is a powerful thing also, but I think it's a little more obvious. This obviously works the best when you're coaching people and like correcting, and you're using their goals or best interests in guiding their actions. Obviously, it's like the reason that I'm saying this is because I know your goal was blank, right? Or you wanted to be here, and if you keep doing this, do you think that's going to help you get there, right? Something that I think is very powerful is the concept of recognizing in public and reprimanding in private, right? And that's something that at first I was terrible at. And there's still times where I definitely need to work on that. But instead of critiquing or criticizing or whatever in a public setting, recognize people in public and have those conversations behind like closed doors. Asking for permission. So I jotted down a few ways to ask for permission. Like if I saw something that you could do better, would you want to know? Can I be real with you for a second? Do you mind if I share with you some of the things that I see? Can I share some advice with you? Whatever. Obviously, that opens someone up to taking feedback. Something that is very powerful is don't criticize someone's character. When you're giving someone criticism, focus on their actions, right? So it's not like, hey, you're bad at this or you're good at this or whatever. It's like, hey, what I've noticed is recently you've been doing X, Y, or Z. And the reason that, you know what I mean? So you're not attacking someone personally. You're talking about their habits or actions, which are something that obviously someone could easily correct. So one thing that I felt it always came a little more naturally to me was learning how to gauge the way that I could best impact someone. So if you've worked with me in the past, you've probably heard me say, like, I like to use this analogy, or I don't know if it's analogy or a way of explaining it. There are certain people that need to be pushed. There are certain people that you need to kind of like pull a little bit. And then there's certain people that you don't have the influence to push or pull. You kind of need to just like walk alongside them and let them do their own thing until you have that influence where you can push or pull that person. So I would say there's certain people that you need to have. When I say push, I would say you need to have like tougher conversations with. So like V, for example, is one of those people. Like he wants me to be blunt and straightforward with him because he wants to be the best, and he knows that that's not going to happen unless someone is just straight up with him. And then I would say that there's certain people that obviously, like, I want to tell them that type of stuff, but need more positive reinforcement and more encouragement than bluntness. And then there's certain people that I know that if I tried to push them too hard right off the bat, I would just push them away, or even pull them. Like, I kind of need to just let them do their own thing until I have more influence. So this was huge for me, is be more vocal about sharing positives. And this was definitely less natural for me, but it's become a huge focus, and it's sharing with people what obviously they're doing well. I think that I've always kind of done a decent job at sharing people what I'm excited about, where they could be. But just telling people that I appreciate them and saying, thank you. And not obviously, like, you can't always be negative when you are talking to people and that type of stuff. And I think that it's a good thing to make it more of a focus to go out of your way to bring positives and that type of stuff. And then the last thing I have is you need to take criticism yourself. You need to actively pursue ways that you can improve. And to me, I think it's really important that you ask for feedback from the people around you, so that you're not just offering feedback but not willing to take it yourself. You need to be able to take feedback and criticisms, because the reality is feedback is the breakfast of champions, right? Other people have the ability to see things that you can't see. The easiest way for you to improve is for people that can actively see your blind spot, can share with you the things that you might not be able to see from the perspective you're in. So ask people, hey, what can I do better? And they appreciate that, and they're willing to take more feedback from you and be more